Howdy, Possum Patty here. It's April 24th and I'm nature journaling on this very special Arbor Day. Today's a day to celebrate to standing people. For my journal page, I drew the face of the green man. The green man is the spirit of nature and helps you connect to nature. I have this fun little book by John Matthews that talks about the myths and the traditions and all the different cultures of the green man or the spirit of nature. In our own time, the green man has become an unofficial icon for the environmental movement, pointing to the way in which we continue to interact with the world around us. So the first thing I did this morning, because it's been raw and raining and damp outside all day, was take a look back through my journals and all the different ways I've journaled about trees. I wrote this quote from a book that was written in 1915 about the artistic anatomy of trees. The young student, not knowing how a tree is constructed, is unable to express its essential forms. He loses their vitality and makes his tree look nondescript and lifeless. And say instead that only those who can feel the beauty of trees may attempt to paint them, and that to others their significance must forever remain a closed door. I haven't painted that many realistic trees. Sometimes I focus on just one part of the tree and not the whole tree. So this was a tree in my backyard and I did a zoom in, zoom out. I sat back and I sketched the whole tree, and then I zoomed in on certain parts of the tree. I sketched the cone. I sketched one branch showing how the male cones and the female cones were growing. And then I zoomed in on the twisted needles. So this was a realistic study. But not many of the trees that I draw in my journals are realistic. Instead, I'm usually just inspired by a tree to draw something in my journal. And by going through my journals, I noticed that a lot of my trees have faces. This was the sacred oak in Ole, Pennsylvania, and these leaves are painted in acrylic, but underneath are real leaves from the tree, and this tree has a face. And of course, the tree that I painted the other day, that one had a face too. That was on April 10th. And this tree I painted, this one was inspired by Game of Thrones. This one had a face. And this one has a face. Now this one's a green man, spirit of nature face on the tree. Now this tree is more realistic, just a pen sketch looking up at a tree. And this tree is more impressionistic. This one was painted with gouache and a brush pen. And this tree is very abstract. I like this tree. This was a lot of fun to do. This is a mixed media page. And of course, more abstract trees. And I think I got one more here to show you. These are really abstract. Kind of like the texture on the bark, though. That was done with saran wrap. And this one is in response to something. I read a book called The Hidden Life of Trees. And so I took a greeting card and I made these doors. And they open up to the tree. And this is the mother beech tree giving nourishment to her little saplings. So there are many, many, many ways to do tree studies. A lot of times trees are just a background element or design element on the page. But sometimes I do a study, and sometimes I'm just inspired by trees to do a fun page in my journal. Today is a very special day to celebrate trees. Make a connection to nature through the spirit of the green man. Thanks for coming along today. Bye-bye.